Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we praise and honor and celebrate the lives of those who are truly making significant differences in our communities. I'm Gary York, your host, and I'm grateful to be here. I want to thank Wilkes Communications and RiverStreet Productions and 100.9 WIFM for this opportunity, and thanks again for being with us today. My featured guest this morning is Chris Dudley. He's the Executive Vice President of High Point University, one of the most incredible endeavors in America. And in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of things, but man-made, this leadership and High Point University is an incredible contributor to the good in our Piedmont, North Carolina, and the world for that matter. So good morning to you.
Gary, great to be with you this
morning.
You
too, Chris Dudley, and you've played such a key role in my life since 2001, I think, when you offered my son an opportunity in radio at High Point University, and I treasure our relationship, if you will. So tell us a little bit about High Point, if you will, Chris Dudley.
Well, thank you again, Gary, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is High Point University. I've got a long history. My mom, who grew up in Yadkinville, North Carolina, is a 1962 graduate of High Point College. And then I graduated in 1994. I met my wife at High Point, volunteered to help the freshman women move into their residence hall rooms, and that was the strategy I used to meet my wife that turned into a pretty good thing, and we're celebrating a bunch of years of marriage. And so High Point's always been very special. I left High Point after graduation and was away for about 6 or 7 years, returned in 1999 as we went into Division I athletics, and I came back to be a part of the fundraising for that effort back in 1999 and had a great experience. But goodness, I'm so blessed that in 2005, Dr. Nito Cobain became the president of the university. And since that time, over the last 13 years, we've just undergone a mega transformation that is really impacting our community and our region, and I think really making a difference in the world as we're preparing young people to be successful and significant when they graduate from college. So it's been a wonderful blessing in my life to be affiliated with the school, and I think the best is yet to come. We've only just begun at High Point in our growth plan, and the future is very exciting for us.
Chris Dudley, Dr. Nito Cobain is a graduate of High Point. Right?
He is, that's right. He graduated in 1970.
Yeah, as a Lebanese immigrant.
That's
I
right.
think went to Mount Olive Junior College to start.
Mm-hmm.
How did it feel when you knew that he was going to take over the reins of High Point?
That's a great question, Gary. I think, again, I've always loved High Point, and I think it's always been a good school. I think the incredible thing that Dr. Cobain did was when he became president, he had a very solid vision, a solid strategy, and then put consistent execution behind turning High Point into something very different and very unique. And so now we are very specific on who we are. We've differentiated ourselves from the 6,000 schools across America. And I think that's more than anything what we've done really well. So when prospective students and even alumni and people that are interested in making philanthropic contributions at High Point, they know very clearly who we are, and they're very passionate about that. We are a values-based institution. We talk about the fact that we're a God, family, and country school. We also believe from an educational perspective in holistic education. And what that means, Gary, is we talk a lot about life skills and also experiential learning. So what you learn in the classroom is very important, but also it's what you experience that prepares you for success after graduation that's so important. So if you can't balance your checkbook, if you can't make a presentation, if you don't know how to shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye, if you don't know how to perform in a business dining setting, those are the things that can get in your way and create obstacles for success. So we really try to educate our students in the classroom, but then also prepare them with life skills so that they can be successful outside of the classroom. And so your question about when Dr. Cobain became president, how did that make me feel? I didn't know him well, but I knew that throughout the course of his life, he had been an extremely successful speaker, consultant, author, business person. And I felt very optimistic about this gentleman who's been very successful putting those same principles in place at High Point that created success in his businesses prior to him coming to High Point. And I think that's exactly what he's been able to do. And while High Point University is certainly not a business, we're a academic institution, I think we put in place business principles that have led to success at High Point.
How did you connect? Do you remember, did you just meet him at a function, or how'd that happen?
Well, Dr. Cobain was a longtime supporter of the school,
Okay.
and he was a member of our board of trustees.
All right.
And it's through some of those relationships that I got to know Dr. Cobain, and again, feel very blessed in my life, Gary. So many, opportunities that I wish I could tell you how they came about, other than just to say it was God's blessing that led these things to happen. But I had a chance to meet Dr. Cobain after he announced that he would be president, prior to actually starting on his first day of work. And we had conversations about what his vision for the school was going to be. And I was so excited about that vision. I loved the institution and wanted to see it succeed. And so I've been able to work closely with him since 2005 in a number of different capacities. My most current position is Senior Vice President for Development in the Office of Institutional Advancement. And I think I'm having the most fun I've ever had in the last 4 years. But it's been that type of progress that I've had and opportunities that I've had to really learn all about the institution and all about the different facets of what makes a college run. It really is like a little mini city. You've got security, you've got food service, you've got finance, you've got education, you've got academics, you've got all the student support services. So it's anything that you can think of that might happen in a city happens at High Point University, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
The last time I was on campus, the two of you were there together, and I could just see this connection, this bonding, that what an advantage it is, or a gift that was bestowed upon you, and for him to have you and you to have him. I mean, that was a wonderful experience. I shall treasure that, and being outside and watching his intensity and seeing a small piece of paper, picking it up, and setting that great example. I'm sure that's easy to follow for you. You want to talk about how about a cabinet meeting or a leadership team meeting? Give us a little idea of what might go on there.
Well, Gary, I think, and I've actually heard Dr. Cobain say this on numerous occasions, that the most important thing that a leader can do is create capacity and build capacity in others. And I think one of the things that Dr. Cobain's done so well, and I hope I'm an example of that, is that he's empowered and entrusted people around him, and certainly not just me, not just Chris Dudley, but a lot of us at High Point University that started with him back in 2005 and have grown into positions. We're passionate about the school. We're learning every day. And now there's, I think, a leadership team that Dr. Cobain's put around him that is very focused on the sustainability of the school and on the fundamentals and principles that led us to success and our commitment to wanting to sustain those fundamentals. And I think that's the key for High Point's future, is that we want to keep saying that we're a values-based school, that we're a God, family, and country school, that we're student-centric, and that we focus on all of those fundamentals that lead to success and significance for students throughout their life. I think if we keep doing that, we're going to have a very bright future. Dr. Cobain, as a leader, I think is a guy that leads by example, and you just mentioned that.
Yes.
He manages by walking around. He goes into the food service kitchen. He goes into the classes. Everyone on campus knows him by name, and he makes it his business to really, with a great depth of understanding, know what's happening at High Point University. You know, he wants to know what the student is feeling and thinking, what is good, what is bad, what can be changed. When he first arrived at High Point University, we really had this mission to identify all the things across campus that we referred to as friction points. Friction points. What are the things that students, and by extension their parents, find irritating or annoying? If those things can be rectified or removed or changed in some way, let's do that. Now, a friction point can't be, I have to go to class and study and get good grades. I mean, that's something that you can't remove. That's academic integrity that's important. But if you can reduce a line at the registrar's office to add a class, why don't you do that, right? Yeah. If you can create an opportunity for students to make suggestions on how to improve things throughout campus, why not do that? So all of the things that we did early on really were to try to create a seamless learning environment and to remove all of the friction points that were unnecessary. And we still do that today. So listening to what our students have to say, I think, is the most important thing that we do, and being student-centric is the most important thing that we do at High Point.
Ben Farmer and Adam Foster here, our producers, the guys that helped me, they, you know, the HPU brand is such a dominating, such a factor here. I mean, it's, you carry away from High Point to graduates of folks who encourage outsiders to want to be involved in it. So every other Wednesday I get some HPU influence here. So I'm glad, you know, that you can represent us today. Chris Dudley, we talked about programs, the academic side, very vital, so important. You can build the buildings, but someone wants to do the teaching, to share those values. Talk about some of the programs that have been developed since you and Dr. Cobain have been there.
Gary, thanks for asking that question. And we are a university, right? So academics is the product. It's the most important thing that we do. High Point University has invested $2 billion in growth over the last 13 years, with the large majority of that, of course, being in academics. So some of the accomplishments we've had over the last several years, really remarkable. When Dr. Cobain started in 2005, we had 3 academic schools. Today we have 9. We've added schools like the Webb School of Engineering, the Wilson School of Pharmacy, the Congdon School of Health Sciences, the Stout School of Education, the Cobain School of Communications. All of these schools have new academic programs associated with them, and they're building a very bright future and a very robust academic program for our students. So now literally we have students that are getting their doctoral degrees in physical therapy and pharmacy and studying undergrad programs like finance and data analytics and cybersecurity. So, and not only the academic majors and minors and schools that we've created, Gary, but also the academic student support programs. For example, High Point is very unique in the fact that we have a program called the Success Coach Program. So every one of our freshmen and the majority of our sophomores don't have a traditional academic advisor, as you would remember it, but they have success coaches that are full-time advisors to help students with their academic choices, their extracurricular choices, their choices about experiential learning opportunities like study abroad, whether or not they want to be in the entrepreneurship club or the sales club. And so they really approach advising holistically. and not just focus on, should I take that calculus class or should I take that finance class? But they understand that the student is more than just about that, so they have to be performing holistically. They have to be doing well in their extracurriculars. They have to be involved in great clubs and organizations that help them reach their career goals. And at High Point, we know that the one thing that we're focused on more than anything is outcomes, right? We know that students and their parents don't want to go to school for 4 years and graduate without a job.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. So at High Point University, we're very proud that within 6 months of graduation, 96% of our students are either employed or in a graduate school of their choice. And so that is outcome. And I think the reason why those outcomes are so positive is all the academic programs and all the student support programs that we have within their 4 years.
So that's like the HPU promise, the 96% is come here, enjoy this wonderment, all the things that we have that we're willing to share with you, and then go forward and carry the message.
That's right. Yeah, we have a branding statement or a promise statement that says at High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. So those are the things that we promise to students and we promise to parents, and then we deliver on those things in a bunch of different ways. Yeah. But the outcome of that promise is a job or a graduate school. And it's interesting, the reason why we talk so much about life skills is we know that the end of the road is not that first job. You know, students are changing jobs, Gary. It's scary compared to when you and I first got out of college. Students are changing jobs 10 times, 15 times, 20 times in the course of their career. So it's important that you have those life skills, because how are you networking? How are you building that personal brand? How are you connecting so that you can get the next job and the job 10 years out of school?
The advancement.
The advancement.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Chris Dudley, tell us about Dr. Cobain's freshman seminar, a required seminar for every freshman, and how does that work?
That's right. And Gary, I would say, you know, I've talked a lot about life skills this morning. High Point's a premier life skills school. I think it starts with that. So all of our freshmen are required to take the President Seminar on Life Skills, and it is just that. So imagine you have this very accomplished person who's had a life of coaching and training, CEOs, executives of Fortune 500 companies, and he's your first college professor.
Right.
And so you're in a class with this accomplished person, learning about all of the things that led to his success personally and professionally over a 40-year period of time. And that's a pretty great value proposition. So these students have an opportunity once a week to be in class with Dr. Cobain for a semester, and they learn about all types of life skills. They learn about fiscal literacy. They learn about one of the most important things, Gary, that we talk about at High Point. It's biblically based. To whom much is given, much is required.
Oh, yes.
They learn about the importance of giving back and philanthropy. And we're so proud of how that extends into our local community and regional community in High Point, North Carolina in the Triad, because our students are donating over 100,000 hours of service every year. Giving to the United Way has gone from about $50,000 to now it's over $250,000 from our annual campaign. We have a service learning program where our students take classes where they might learn about graphic design, but then they go to, let's say, the United Way and do graphic design campaigns for the United Way organization. So it's learning in the classroom and then executing with nonprofits. We have a mobile science lab that goes around to elementary school students and helps get them inspired about science. We have a pro bono clinic where if you don't have insurance and you have physical therapy needs, you might become addicted to drugs or things like that because you can't get rid of the pain. You can go to our pro bono clinic and receive free physical therapy treatment. So we do hundreds of things like that from throughout the community, and we teach the importance of those things in Dr. Cobain's President Seminar. So again, presentation skills, the importance of giving back, balancing your checkbook, how to look somebody in the eye, all of those things that you need to be successful in life. It doesn't matter if you're a biology major or a math major or a business major, you need to have those life skills. And we're teaching them from a gentleman who's been pretty accomplished throughout his career, both personally and professionally. And so that's a great value proposition for our students.
Great. Chris Dudley, Executive Vice President at High Point University. Who's Dennis Carroll?
Dennis Carroll's one of the greatest guys in the world. He is kind of like me. He's I would call him a High Point University lifer. He graduated from High Point College, got multiple degrees, obviously, at UNCG and then Wake Forest. Came back to High Point to lead the School of Education, was the Dean of the School of Ed. And over the last many years now, really most of Dr. Cabane's tenure, Dr. Carroll has been the provost. He's our chief academic officer. And he's a guy with great passion and great spirit. He loves students, loves to see them succeed. And along with Dr. Cabane, they've been the architects for these academic advancements and new programs and new schools that we've created, including our most recent school, Gary, that we're starting. It's the Wannick School of Undergraduate Science. So we're actually building a new undergraduate science building to house chemistry and physics and biology, and that's going to have its own separate school, its own separate building. We just built a new conservatory with, it's going to have a greenhouse, so our biologists are going to work with these plants and other biological specimen to advance their academics. And then we're also building a new arena and conference center that not only is going to have a wonderful basketball arena with new head coach Tubby Smith, which is exciting, but it's also going to have a conference center in it, and our students who are majoring in hospitality will get to interact in that conference center. So just a lot of things like that are going on, and Dr. Carroll is an amazing part of that academic progress that we've made.
Yeah. Chris Dudley, your role. Tell us what does Chris Dudley, the tremendous accomplishments that you have before you, talk about that.
Well, again, I've had a really marvelous career at High Point University. Started my career before Dr. Cabane came to High Point. Outside of the university, I came back to be involved in fundraising. And then when Dr. Cabane arrived in 2005, I left fundraising completely, and I was really very much an operations person. So I had a lot of different responsibilities in operations, and I really got to know the nuts and bolts of how a university runs, and did that for about 10 years. Over the last 3.5, 4 years, I've been in charge of our development efforts, the Institutional Advancement Office. So that is our fundraising efforts, and we've been incredibly successful over the last 10 years, Gary. We've raised over $360 million, mostly from individuals. Each year we're raising about $40 million a year. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been at that number. And we're doing it, I think, in unique ways. We're never begging for money at High Point. We go and talk to people who are interested in investing their money and partnering with us. We found that successful people want to be a part of something that's very successful. They don't want to give their money away. They want to invest their money, and they want to see it multiply.
Wow.
So we've had people that have made gifts, and we've leveraged those gifts to build a new building or build a new school that's been revenue producing, and then has allowed us to do other things at High Point. And that's what I mean by they're investing their money. They're planting seeds that then they see grow and blossom, and they say, wow, you've taken great care of my money. And in some cases they say, you know, at my passing, I want to give you the rest of my money. And we've had stories like that are incredible, where people have told us, you've taken such good care of the money that we gave you, that we invested with you, that we even want to do more. And so
I sense that givers know that there's a buy-in there, that you're going to stand behind, the university is going to stand behind certain values and commitments. And they're not just here, take my money. They know they're going to get an investment's going to come back to them. I think that's the key to, folks are encouraged to say yes when they know that the value's there.
Gary, I think that's absolutely right. I think most of our investors give to High Point because they're passionate about what we're passionate about. They have common values and things that are important in their lives. are very important to us institutionally. And I think it's because of that passion, they want to see the university succeed and grow and be sustainable. And that's why they want to make that investment.
And Dr. Cobain is a tremendous advocate of intercollegiate sports. I was there the last year when you gave out trophy after trophy. I just said, wow, I was so excited about the female sports, the ladies sports, hockey and all the things that they're doing. And he was there.
Well, let me brag for a second. So I appreciate you bringing up Division I athletics. High Point is a member of the Big South Conference. We've got 16 varsity sports. But under Dan Hauser's leadership and Dr. Cobain's leadership, last year our women's program won the trophy for having the best women's programs in the Big South. Our men finished number 2. And athletics, I feel like, it's every time you pick up the paper, Gary, you feel like you're hearing a story that doesn't make you feel good. But at High Point University, I think we're really doing it the right way. So our average grade point average among all of our student athletes is over a 3.0. And our student athletes are really committed to their community, to their classroom, and then I think to the playing field. And so I think we have kind of the order of things right. Yeah. And then they're performing really well too. And when you hire great people like Tubby Smith, who's one of the greatest guys in the world, who shares those values, I think athletics becomes a really exciting thing for us.
Chris, I want you to just briefly share Dr. Cobain getting involved in the minor league baseball program. And of course they picked the person who could make it happen, who would make it happen if he decided to go in that direction. Just a little bit about all the things that went into that.
Sure. Well, as we talked a little bit earlier, one of the things that I think makes Dr. Cobain so unique for this position is he's passionate about the university's success contributing to the community's success.
We impact this High Point region, right?
That's right.
High Point moves things.
That's right. That's right. And so we're now, 13 years later, Gary, strong enough, successful enough that we can really move the needle. And so there's been a lot of discussion in High Point, North Carolina over the last several years about how do you revitalize downtown? How can you make this a place for High Point University students to want to live after they graduate? And so Dr. Cobain took that very seriously and said, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to help with my time, with my connections, with my own money to lead this charge and make this important for everyone in the community. So through his hard work and connections, he raised $50 million in private funds and then also secured another $50 million in private development. And along with the great city staff at the city of High Point, we have now put together a plan where we're going to build a new minor league baseball stadium. It's a multi-use stadium. It's going to open next year. We have a team from the Independent League that we've purchased. It's coming down from Connecticut. We renamed and rebranded that team the High Point Rockers. So first pitch is going to be next spring. And we're very excited about that. And then it's more, though, Gary, than just about baseball. A new children's museum is being built, a new convention center, and then lots of development going around these projects to really create a lot of excitement in High Point. So we're thrilled about that, and Dr. Cobain has certainly been a champion to lead that effort with a lot of great people across the community that have jumped on board and wanted to see High Point University and High Point, North Carolina succeed.
If we want to see something happen, he must be a part of the mix. It's just amazing how people are drawn to him and they want to say yes and not no.
Gary, he's got great charisma, certainly, but he's also had a 40-year track record in our community of doing really good things, being very honest, being very successful. And so I think people believe in what he can do. And I think that along with his willingness to work very, very hard.
I've called him at 6:30 in the morning.
And he's there. Yeah, he's there. He's a hard worker.
So Chris Dudley, you've just honored us in a special way. And I want to thank Wilkes Communications and RiverStreet for this opportunity that I could reach out to you and you just wholeheartedly said, I'll be there, count me in. So tell us about your gratitude, if you will. Your family's happy, your girls are in a good place. Just a little bit about your future, if you will, before we finish.
I don't know that we have enough time for me to tell you about all the reasons why I think I'm blessed, but it's amazing when you look back over the course of your life and you think of things that, Gary, at the time might have been considered disappointments at the time, right? You kind of said, well, why did that happen to me that way? And then you look back with some perspective now, for me, 46 years later, and you think that really God has a plan in your life, and all of those things that happened led you to this point. And so I think a lot of the things that happened in my life have led me to being at High Point University at this time. And so I hope the rest of my career I'm at High Point University. I'm committed to the sustainability of our school and the success of our school, and just thrilled about that opportunity. As I mentioned, my wife is an alumna, and my daughters hopefully are going to look at High Point University when they start checking out colleges. I think they'd be very fortunate to be students at High Point. So the future for us and for me personally and for the university, I think is very bright. And looking back, I'm just grateful for friendships and people that have maybe seen something in me as a young guy and given me an opportunity. And Gary, you're one of those guys that has always been a huge cheerleader for me.
Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough. You said thank you for me helping Alan, but he's one of the greatest hires I've made. And I feel so proud of him to see how his career has grown. And at the end of the day, you know, when you look back over your life, it's really about impact. How can you impact other people? And to see,
What did we leave?
What do you leave? Yeah, what do you leave, and how do you?
Thank you for blessing us today. What an honor to have you here, and please come back again. And your giving and sharing and caring is just profound. Thank you.
Gary, thank you.
Take care.